This is Kinesiology 4330 Family Health, and in this video we will go over what makes a relationship healthy and those things that put a relationship at risk. There are influencers on our personality that impact our individual sexuality as well as our personalities, such as our birth order, and that could be our oldest, the middle, or the youngest, or the baby. Our parenting styles, which could be mentoring, authoritarian, or dominant. Rescue parents that can affect our personality and personal goals. The genetic influences that play a part, being tall or short, heavy or skinny, blonde or brunette, or a redhead. This can impact our interest in others. Our culture, our practices, rituals, traditions, and mores. Knowing the same spoken language is important in verbal and cultural communication. Our life experiences, being well-traveled or living in the same area, or the type of home you were raised in, are just examples of our life experiences. Our education as well. Our abilities and interests are those things that we like to do and would like to know more about. Social connectedness, such as the people we know, the language we speak, or the social circles that we are involved with. Where have you seen examples of healthy relationships in your life? Friends, families, teachers, and other mentors. It is important with fragmented family backgrounds to be able to see all the aspects of healthy relationships. Even divorced families can be healthy and coexist well for the sake of their younger children and not be embittered with one another. So yes, research shows that when people are consistently shown images depicting certain behavior or body images, they are more likely to start accepting that behavior and those images as normal. For instance, in today's movies and entertainment, a couple in bed together is depicted in just about every romance movie. But back in the day, even Lucy and Ricky would not be seen in the same bed together on national TV. In sports, there has been many types of innovations and changes in style and technique that were once considered unorthodox and flat out weird, but are considered a standard today. So it's very important to recognize the cycle of abuse. Most don't realize they're right in the middle of it. They are the proverbial frog in boiling water when there's a problem. There is a honeymoon phase, which is idealized and romantic, and the abuser makes promises saying that they will change and never do it again. There's also a tension-building phase where the abused partner feels growing tension and stress. The victims try to control the situation and avoid their partner's anger, but they feel like they're walking on eggshells. There's also an explosive or abusive phase, which escalates into some type of abusive behavior. It's initially in an abusive relationship, which is the shortest phase, but over time it can increase over length and in the length of time of the actual phase. We're going to be seeing a video here coming up where it indicates that 1 in 3 people will be affected by dating abuse. There's a YouTube video that's posted under documents and content that you will also be able to see right here on this film.
Because I love you. I want to be your only guy.
Because I love you, skip class with me. Let's stay in bed today.
Because I love you, I just want to be with you so freaking much. Because I love you.
I waited for you after Chem Lab.
You were walking with Mark?
Because I love you.
You shouldn't be hanging out with that dude.
You should know how dumb that makes me look.
I don't care if she's your lab partner.
Why do you have texts from him?
Because I love you. This number, delete.
Because I love you. This Jason number,
Delete.
And Ben,
Delete.
because I love you, I should smash your phone.
Why don't you give me your password instead?
Because I love you.
I will check your texts every day.
You got lucky. Because I love you.
Because I love you.
You think it's okay.
Because I love you. You understand.
Because I love you, you stop talking to your classmates.
And you feel completely alone.
Because I love you.
Many people in an abusive relationship inexplicably believe that the abuse that they are going through is normal and what everyone goes through in a regular relationship. However, if you have to sacrifice your friends, your dreams, your goals, and your dignity, then you aren't in a healthy relationship. Our family and trusted friends that have shown love over time and built trust can provide honest feedback about how they see the relationship you're either making you happier or a more fulfilled person, or an isolated, manipulated, and controlled person that is not showing the same promise and potential they had before they were in the relationship. So a healthy relationship will never require you to sacrifice your friends, your dreams, or your dignity. Now we're going to watch a film that's also posted under documents and content, just having A little bit about the importance of consent in a relationship.
If you're still struggling with consent, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they go, "Oh my God, I would love a cup of tea, thank you." Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they're like, I'm not really sure." Then you can make them a cup of tea, or not, but be aware that they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important bit, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you're entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say, "No thank you," then don't make them tea at all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, "Yes please, that's kind of you." And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind, and you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they are unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea, and they can't answer the question, "Do you want tea?" because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea, and they said yes, but in the time it took you to boil the kettle or brew the tea and add the milk, they're now unconscious. You should just put the tea down, make sure the unconscious person is safe, and this is the important part again, don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they'd finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they are safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it, going, "But you wanted tea last week," or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat going, "But you wanted tea last night." If you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you are able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea.
We talked about the filters that we have for our potential dates and mates. These are the good qualities that we filter in, and those habits and characteristics that we know we can't adjust to and compromise our principles and must filter out of our pool of applicants. This can be hard to determine if we haven't identified and established what our standards are. Simply defined, standards are the qualities that we're looking for in a partner. The list can include non-negotiable traits or characteristics that are important to us that we can't do without or simply overlook. And the list also includes some additional qualities that would be nice or a plus to our other non-negotiables. This is important for us to understand about ourselves and can help us to recognize why a relationship is or isn't working. So now we're going to take a look at what are the foundations of a healthy relationship. Relationships, if done right, should be complex and multifaceted, and how we prioritize and emphasize the components of a relationship will impact that relationship. First up is verbal communication. For a relationship to have any level of lasting value, you have to at least be able to talk to one another. How many times have you met someone who you were attracted to, but then they opened their mouth and you just said, "Oh no, don't talk"? If that isn't overcome, the relationship won't get very far. After this is quality time. Yes, you have to have lives that intersect and enjoy the time you spend together. The type of time is important, and with technology this can take various forms. After quality time comes common interests. So yes, opposites attract, and our mates can complete us with their traits that fill our voids, but a relationship is bolstered when there are common interests in which to share. This can be hobbies, musical taste, activities, authors, movies, etc. that you both enjoy. After common interest comes values. Eventually this will come up as an issue, whether it be our religion or general philosophy of life. Decisions on where you would like to live and maybe your vision of your career or what your family interests are. Next up are boundaries. It's important to establish your personal time and time together. What is going too far or not far enough? After boundaries is trust. It's often said that it's more important to love over the long run, and trust can take a long time to develop and can be destroyed very quickly with dishonesty in the relationship. Next is commitment. The willingness to being resolved to see a relationship through good times, bad times, and even tragedies. It's often the crises in life that will strengthen and define a relationship. Last but not least is sex. So it's right around the top where it belongs, and it's best when you have the foundation of the underlying qualities on the diagram. Depending on the relationship, you may have these categories in different locations and substitute some for others. Often the students will say that their sex is their quality time, but that may be in the neglect of areas that require attention. So what are your love languages? We studied that earlier. Going back to Gary Chapman's 5 love languages, know this about yourself and your partner. Copies of the questionnaire are available under documents and content and are good to know about yourself and your partner. So we want to become a pro at the KINS. It's important to be able to discuss conflict and be able to have healthy directional arguments, not non-directional arguments. So conflict can lead to deeper intimacy. Connection can provide security, and certainty, and predictability are valued. Secretive activity breaks down connection. Conversations need to be well thought out and reasonable, not impulsive, and must be at the right place and right time. Confrontation is not avoiding or isolating. It's good when you have issues that you don't agree upon. Consultation. Oftentimes this can come from a third party or often a professional. Talk about issues without getting personal. And consistency. You need to be consistent in the character that you are. Inconsistency in character can harm connection. Conflict can lead to good things. It can lead to intimacy and knowing and respecting and accepting each other. It can lead to maturity in responding versus reacting. It's our response is our responsibility. And respect. It builds trust and connection, and be willing to admit your part in any conflict that you have. So the destructive disconnection, there are negative results of avoiding conflict. It can lead to alienation, which is allowing the root of bitterness to take hold. It can lead to isolation when we withdraw, and loneliness and not being connected. It can lead to internal dialogue, such as talking to yourself and rehearsing your responses to conjured up conflict. It can lead to the other person ceasing to exist when we shut them out of our lives. The other person dies in our mind. It can lead to self-justification, believing that no one else can be right except for me. So if you can employ some of these ideas, just to realize that conflict avoidance is unhealthy in a relationship, and being able to discuss difficult things is important. So we take a look here. Here's a diagram from Check the Facts at the relationship spectrum from healthy to unhealthy to abusive. And you can see in healthy relationships have the quality of communication, respect, trust, honesty, and just enjoying each other's company. Conversely, unhealthy relationships are characterized by terms like disrespect, control, blaming, isolating, pressuring, and forcing. This chart's a great way to take inventory and assess what current state the relationships are that we are involved in. If you're in an unhealthy relationship, a change must occur or you will risk things escalating into something more harmful. This guide sheet is of help if you're a victim and the abuser, or closely involved with those involved in an abusive relationship. So healthy relationships do start with mutual respect and concerns for other people. Being able to speak openly and honestly is the first step in building the trust that a relationship needs to thrive. Boundaries and standards are very important to develop and adhere to. Knowing ourselves individually and what our strengths and vulnerabilities are will help us to understand what relationships are healthiest and those that need to discontinue for the betterment of all of those involved. And when it comes to complex issues of how to approach a relationship in a productive and healthy way, it helps to apply these principles so you can be the solution. Thanks very much, and I think this is a great way to go over a healthy relationship and know more about yourself as you find your mates and within your own families.